the dwarf caiman.
So what you have is mosquito netting there, and then if the weather gets really bad and you want to keep out the cold or the wind or whatever, you have this other little bit of fabric that's sort of water resistant. They call it a weather shield, and that can go over the top. And of course the rain flies over the top of the whole thing, so it's pretty weatherproof. This thing is basically a stuff sack, and I've got it turned inside out, and on the inside, which is now the outside, it's quite soft and comfortable. And all you do is shove about 3 or 4 bits of clothing in there that are fairly soft, and that creates a pillow. And also if you get cold, you can pull one of those out and put it on. Always have a little tester on. Make sure you're happy with the tension and the angle and how it works, both as a seat and as a bed. So get in there. You got room for your arms and everybody's happy, and yeah, that's pretty good. So extremely versatile bit of gear, the hammock. Do not let people convince you that a tent is okay for the jungle. Some tents are. I would want mine to be very, very reinforced, particularly around the base, because ants can chew through flimsy silicone nylon tents and have done so in the past, particularly if you have sugar or anything inside your tent, or even if you're very sweaty, and the salt will attract them as well. So ants and all sorts of bugs are attracted to salt. So being on the ground, it's also, as soon as you open your tent door, you've got, snakes crawling in and who knows what. But being in a hammock gives you a place to rest during the day in the shade, and also a comfortable place to sleep at night, away from the bugs and the snakes and whatever else is crawling around down there. Staying hydrated is a pretty important thing, obviously, in the jungle. I carry a couple of water bags, Sea to Summit. That's a 10-liter water container, so you can go a fair while on that one. And brush your teeth, everything with purified water. A lot of people worry about being thirsty in the jungle, but it's not all that difficult if you have a machete to get yourself a drink of water. Sometimes it's not a lot of water, but go ahead, Joe, have a drink. How's that one better? Yes, that one's running a bit dry. All right. And they do vary a lot. You get some that just drip pretty slowly like that, and you get some where it basically gushes out and sprays your whole body, provided you don't chop the poisonous ones. That's why I have the expert with me here. And it is very nice tasting water too. It's absolutely pure stuff. Often when you're tracking, you get a bit of a smudge or a little mark here, or some fairly faint sign that an animal has passed through. On rare occasions, you get really lucky and you get an extremely clear track in mud. It's got a definite claw there up the front of the foot pads. A tyra, maybe. A grisson, one of the large members of the weasel family, something like that. Not really sure. What's interesting is in the Makushi Amerindian culture, it's the men who are the experts at the plaiting and the weaving and the basket making. Quite different from other indigenous societies. It's a funny thing about the water here in the jungle in Guyana. When I use a clear container and I fill this up and I put my 3 tablets in there and wait 4 hours, it's all fine. A couple days later, if I haven't drunk the whole thing, it starts to grow algae inside the water. Those are what we've been eating a lot of lately. When you come to these sandbanks, a lot of them are absolutely covered in these yellow bees. They don't seem to be too interested in me, which is a nice thing, but it's an imposing sound that they make. Tricky to get through because there's a lot of overhanging branches that are just barely passable. You gotta squeeze and chop, and yeah, it's a tight one. Here we go. Just gotta turn a little bit. A lot of people ask me what the most dangerous part of my remote river expeditions is, and I always tell them it's the car trip from my house to the airport. I've been very modern this trip. I've brought all the electronic gear, the Solara Field Tracker 2100, where I can text people back in Australia. I brought the satellite phone, the Iridium 9555, and I brought a Kindle, one of those e-book reader things where you can store lots of books on there and just read them one after the other. Did that. And unfortunately, because I'm out here for 4 weeks and I used it pretty heavily in the beginning, the batteries run out, so not a lot to read. Fortunately, my illustrious Makushi Amerindian guide, Joe, has provided me with a newspaper. This is a Guyana newspaper, and today is November 9th, 2011. The newspaper here is January 2010. So not quite up to the date news, but entertaining nonetheless. My mother used to say, always keep yourself entertained. Just don't do that, you'll go blind. Nobody's ever gone blind. It's just ridiculous. Now, where were we? Alright. Well, there you go. We're just lamenting the fact that we don't have enough fish, and yes, Joe's used his bow and arrow to get us one this morning. Well, this morning Joe and I were just heading down the river. We often get up right at the crack of dawn and cruise down, cruise up, see what wildlife there is to film. This morning was a little bit different. Joe spotted some slight disturbance in the water, and the next thing I knew, I was in the front of the boat. This arrow comes shooting past me and goes into the water and disappears. And I figure, oh, he's shot at something and missed, and we're never going to see the arrow again. Well, about 7 or 8 seconds later, it just slowly surfaces the back end of the arrow, and attached to the front of it is a fish about that big. Been speared exactly through the middle. It is really hard to convey the level of skill required for a standing person with a bow and arrow in very low light. It was only maybe 6 a.m. shooting at an angle at a fish nearly a meter underneath the surface of the water and hitting it square in the middle of its body. That's pretty impressive. Yeah, I'm not often flabbergasted, but I'm still shaking my head at this one. Yeah, pretty awesome. The man's a legend. The head half of the illustrious cootie fish, speared with a bow and arrow. I love the taste of fish head chowder in the morning. You know, there are other presenters who delight in eating the fish eyeball. I'm not one of them. You got water on that one, Joe? Yep. Oh, very good. It's all about transpiration and gravity. And having a sharp machete and knowing which vines are not poisonous. You have some, Joe. That's pretty good tasting stuff. Because the tree acts like a large purifier, sucks all the water out of the ground and stores it in the leaves and in the bark of the tree. And it tastes good. Yeah. It's cool and it's fresh and it's pretty yummy. And you know, if you were trekking through the jungle like this, probably every 5-10 minutes you could find one of these vines and have a drink. And yeah, enough to keep you going anyway. So you wouldn't really need to carry, you know, tons and tons of water for a trek through a forest like this, provided you knew, you know, what to look for, what vines were good. And you know, not all of them have water. Some of them are dead, but after a while you get to learn which is the good one and which is not. When you're cutting your vines to drink from, you want to make sure you know what vine is what. What you don't really want is one of these. It's got a milky white sap in it. That will give you excruciating indigestion or worse. I'm not sure what it is, but something about this whole trip just smells fishy to me. So this is what it's about. Neck strap. You build up some neck muscles with this thing. You got shoulder straps here, and it's all tied on in the back, like that. Bottom line is, no human being has been up here before. As you can see, we've got plenty of roasted fish here. I'm just cooking up a little bit of macaroni for lunch. When you're in Georgetown, Guyana, shopping for ingredients, you come across all sorts of weird and wonderful things. This is split peas powder, which I have never seen in my life. Apparently, the ingredients include ground split peas, and that's it. So what does macaroni with dehydrated vegetable soup powder and split pea powder look like? Well, it looks pretty much like this stuff. You know, when you make a big plate of pasta, and as soon as you dish it up, you see 7 or 8 vultures circling in the sky. It's not a good sign. It's only about 9 o'clock in the morning. I think by 9 o'clock at night we should be half a kilometer up this creek. While I wear a flimsy pair of fishing sandals to stroll through the forest, Joe has got massive Wellington boots on as protection against the snakes. Perhaps he knows some things that I doubt. But yeah, we did manage to get off the sort of track. And now we're just heading in a roughly general direction of the river. The classic going around in circles gag. We seem to have found the trail again.
Here you go.
Oh, you get some water for him. Jungle tributary at dusk with somebody else doing the paddling. He's just caught a couple of fish for dinner for us as well. The guy's unreal.